Welcome to Voices of Impact, a show where dreams and passions meet action and change makers unite. We are your co-hosts, Kathy and Brad Lambert of KBL Impact Partners. You can find us locally in your city on My Genre Radio FM, Monday through Fridays at 2 p.m. Central. Also, we are televised on Valuable Television Network at 4 p.m. Central and Urban Core Television at 3 p.m. Central. You can find all 100 plus stations on A2 Media under radio and television tabs.
We are so excited to be with you today. Our guest is George Pordea. George is the president of International Access to Missions and was born and raised under the communism in the country of Romania. His journey led him to the United States for his undergraduate studies. During his academic pursuits, he crossed paths with Shelley in St. Louis, Missouri, and they got married in 1995. Upon completing his education, George and Shelley returned to Romania, where he assumed the role of lead pastor at Hope Church. He did this for a period of 14 years. Under his leadership, the church became deeply involved in various charitable endeavors, including providing assistance to orphanages, supplying lunches to underprivileged public schools, organizing summer camps for economically disadvantaged children, and distributing winter coats and boots to communities in need, as well as providing medical assistance to those communities. After dedicating 15 years of serving in Eastern Europe, George and his family returned to the United States and was invited to serve as a missions pastor of Waypoint Church in St. Charles, Missouri, where he oversaw the global and local missions of the church. And then in 2014, driven by passion for global outreach, George started International Access to Missions, a nonprofit organization that exists to meet physical and spiritual needs globally by connecting churches, businesses, and people with opportunities to make a difference in underprivileged parts of the world. Currently, IM International Access to Mission focuses its efforts and resources primarily in Romania and Ukraine. George and his wife Shelley have been married for 28 years. They have 3 children, Michaela, Jack, and Robert, and 1 son-in-law, Logan, and amazing granddaughter, Rowan. When we come back, we will be joined by George Pordea.
The Scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
What are you looking for?
Welcome back. We're with George Pordea of International Access to Missions. George, I'd like to start with growing up in Romania, something that I'm sure the vast majority of our audience knows very little about Romania. What was it like in those days growing up under communism? Tell us about your parents, your family. What was day-to-day life like?
Thank you, Brad and Kathy, for having me. You guys are heroes to me. Thank you so much for investing in my life and in our nonprofit and what we're doing. To answer your question, I'm George Pordea. I was born in the country of Romania under communism. Romania was communist for 45 years.
Wow.
I actually lived under communism for about 15 years of my life. I grew up in a family where my mom was a follower of Jesus. My dad was not. He had fear of God, but not a personal relationship with the Lord. But because of my mom's faith and my dad's position at the border between Romania and Hungary, he would often bring Bibles that were confiscated at the border, and he would give them to my mom, and my mom would take them to church and give them to people who didn't have a copy of God's Word. So I've seen that so many times. There were times when our pastor would give information to my mom and say, hey, we have some friends from America flying into Vienna, Austria, which was the last kind of Western European country, not under the communist bloc there, and they would pack a rental car with Bibles and try to smuggle them into the country.
Oh my goodness.
My mom would give the information to my dad and make sure you're at the border and let them go through at this day, this hour, and he would make sure that he's there to open the trunk, kind of look to see what they have in the trunk, and then wave them through. So even though he didn't come to church with us, he had the fear of God, and he tried whatever he could to help people to get a Bible in their hand and to be able to read God's Word. And then eventually when he decided to follow Jesus, he was called in, he was demoted, eventually he was fired because of his faith.
Oh, wow.
And kept without a job for months at a time.
Really?
These are some of the things, that we have experienced as a family. Economically speaking, everything was rationed. You'd go to the store, you'd have a card, and you would receive 2 pounds of sugar, 2 pounds of flour, 1 liter of cooking oil per person for the whole month.
Wow.
If you had a month, if you had a month in which you didn't have enough food, you'd usually go to your neighbors and say, hey, can you spare a little bit and I'll give it back to you, when the new month starts. If you wanted meat, you had to go to the store and you had to wait in line for hours at a time, even before the truck with the meat would get there. And hopefully you'll be able to get inside and get maybe 2 pounds of meat, but only for the people that were actually in line. So if my mom knew that the meat was coming, she would tell me and my sister, you gotta be here at the store by this time, so that you can come into the store with me so we could get more meat. So these are some of the things.
It was so much per person.
Yeah. If you had a car, for example, you could only get like 5 gallons of gas per month.
Right.
You know, so we use
month.
that. Yeah, we use that in our mowers. You know, nowadays here.
Yeah.
But it was quite a very controlled life. Everything was rationed and. But at the same time, you know, we've experienced that unity that people have and the connection that humans have, and being always ready to help each other.
Yeah.
Sure.
So George, then, how did you get to the United States?
Yeah, so the revolution started in 1989 and in December, and communism fell. The Romanian dictator was actually executed on Christmas Day. The newspapers had a headline, "The Antichrist was killed on Christmas Day."
Really?
And then we started having all sorts of friends from America coming to Romania, to our church. And because I spoke English, I was one of the translators for different pastors, for different Christian workers. And eventually I was invited to come to the States to go to school, to a Bible school, and that's where I met my wife, Shelley. And after we graduated,
we adore.
Yes, yes, she is truly amazing, and I'm truly blessed to have her as my wife, and to be able to serve together and look for ways to make a difference in this world. And in Romania, you know, we had our 3 kids. They were born in the States, but we raised them in Romania, Michaela and Jack and Robert.
Yeah.
And now we have a son-in-law.
Yes, and a granddaughter.
Logan, and our granddaughter, Rowan Yulia, and she's about 2.5. So life is here in St. Louis area, but we travel back and forth quite a bit.
Oh, I can see why. Now, are your children all here?
Yes.
So everybody is here?
Yes.
Which is wonderful.
Yes.
So, George, how did your journey lead you to starting International Access to Missions?
So after we returned from Romania, because we were in Romania for about 14 years, and I served there as the lead pastor of Hope Church in the city of Brașov. We came back to the States because, you know, the kids were getting ready to go to colleges, and we didn't know exactly how was that going to work.
Right.
And they were also educated by Shelley, by my wife, in the American system of learning, which is different than the Romanian one. So we made the decision to come back to the States, and in 2014 we started this nonprofit to continue the work that we have in Romania and continue to be a blessing to the people there.
So what projects have you been working on so recently, or what projects do you have going on in Romania?
Yeah, so recently we have been working on helping our partners in Ukraine. That's one of the big things that is going on right now, even though often we don't talk about it anymore, you know, and it's become politicized, but yet the people on ground and people who are close to the war front are suffering. Many of them do not have their daily bread. So our desire was to do something for the people and kind of keep, you know, out of politics, keep out of, you know, all the discussions that are going on. Should we give money? Should we not give money? So we had a truckload of food that we purchased in Ukraine, and our partner took it to the east side of Ukraine, and then it was divided into smaller packages and given to people who are in need, primarily the elderly. That's one project. The second one that we did was adopt a room, and it's still going on. We have a huge retreat center, kind of like a camp.
Yeah, we want to visit that here in a little bit.
Yeah, and we had, you know, we had a team that went over there and tried to finish the upstairs of this huge monster building, big project that we took on so that we could have it ready for the summer camps. We had basically 12 rooms done, which allows us to have 50 kids per week at the camp, a total of 600 over the summer. Extra kids that would come to the camp. And third one that we are we have our desire to continue to help is Coats for Kids.
Yes.
And we purchased over 2,300 coats, and we went into underprivileged parts of Romania, into the villages, and give it to kids. And we also were able to take 482 coats and give to the Ukrainian refugee kids that actually live in Romania.
Wonderful. Oh, wow.
So we work with the organization there, and then we were able to say, okay, what are the needs?
Right.
And they said, man, we would love to get a coat for the kids here. So that's what
awesome.
we did.
I mean, that's amazing.
So real quick, George, before we go to break, when was your last trip over there, and how many people generally go with you?
Yeah, so I was there May and June, and we had a group of 10 that went on this trip. And we're getting ready to do another team, and Boots for Kids is coming up in November.
Oh,
So we're
that's
doing Boots for Kids
wonderful.
this year.
Beautiful.
And we would love to hear more about those. We just need to take just a quick little break. And we will be back with George Pordea with International Access to Missions.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back. We are happy to be here today with George Pordea, founder of International Access to Missions.
So George, you have all these different projects that you're doing, and volunteers are really key to the work, to your operations and all that you do. How do you inspire and maintain that volunteer base, especially when you're dealing with projects that require a high commitment? And also it's challenging, right? So how do you do that?
I think one of the things we have to remember is that all of us are human. And even though the media sometimes even splits us apart, and we
do.
make our neighbor our enemy instead of the one that we're supposed to love. What actually brings us back together is sharing stories. And when you share a story, that's when our humanity comes back to our heart. And that's what actually moves us into action. So my desire is to always be transparent. My desire is always to tell stories. My desire is always allow people to know, hey, let's put aside our differences, because down deep we are all human beings and we all have needs.
Right.
So when you plug that message into the hearts of people, that's when people are going to say, okay, yeah, I get it. I was helped in the past. Somebody had to, give me a hand when I was down, or I was the one who was able to lift somebody up. So that creates a desire in our hearts to make a difference. Yeah. And my desire is to make a difference together with others, because we can't do it alone.
No,
That's right.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
Would you share a story with us?
So one of the stories that I could, share with you is how one lady heard our story and what we are trying to do, even with Coats for Kids, and we said we don't know if we'll be able to do this project, but we want to go into the villages and give a coat to kids. And she came to me and she said, George, I really believe that we can make a difference. And I said, sure. I said, all it takes is money. You guys taught me, no money, no mission.
No mission,
right? So I said, yeah, sure, let's do it. So she said, I want to be the first one that actually donates the first $5,000. And then also, I want to be the first one on the list to volunteer to go and distribute these coats.
That's amazing.
So this sweet lady has never been to Romania, has never been internationally with us anywhere, but yet she decided to go. She decided, I'm going to take this step of faith and try to make a difference. And while we are there, she saw the needs. We ended up in a public school giving out coats. And the teacher came to us. It's like, I kept asking God, why did you bring me in this forsaken place in Romania? And the first day I realized why. I was in a class with 18 kids that didn't have a lunch. And I told my mom, these kids have nothing to eat. I take my lunch out and I eat my lunch, and they're looking at me while I eat, and this is not right.
Yeah.
So every morning, his mom now makes 18 sandwiches and puts them in his bag, sends the teacher to school, and he gives a sandwich to each kid that is in his class so that they could have a lunch for the day.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh my goodness.
So George, I'm assuming that you're always looking for volunteers.
Yes, sir.
That want to join you on one of these trips.
Yes, sir.
How can people reach you to learn more about this opportunity?
So you can go to our website, which is ia2m.org. So International Access to Missions, basically abbreviated to ia2m.org. Or you can email me at george.pordea@ia2m.org, or my phone number, 314-828-9633. So that's one way that you guys can connect with us.
I love that.
Perfect. Your mission is structured around 4 key principles: inform, inspire, involve, and influence.
Yes.
How do your activities fulfill those principles?
So again, we're coming back to stories.
Yep.
You always want to inform people about what you're doing, and the way you do that is also is important because it needs to inspire people. You can't just give numbers, you can't just give statistics, you can't just go and say, we did this, and that, without actually telling the story of the impact you're having in the life of a person. So then when a person hears the information, is inspired by that information, is ready to get involved and saying, okay, what can I do? That's the next step, the third step. But we don't want to stop here, because I believe that those who are willing to say, I want to make a difference. I want to involve myself in what you're doing. I want to come alongside, and we can do this together. They are your greatest ambassadors when they come back or when they hear stories. They could go to their friends, they could go to their network of people and influence them to make a difference. So those are kind of like the 4 steps that we follow in order to be able to have people jump on board and realizing, hey, you have a place in this world for a reason, and you can make a difference. And we're here to help you fulfill that dream that God has for every one of our life.
Absolutely. And I love what you just said, because anyone who is in the audience and hears what you're saying, and if they're running an organization, a nonprofit, and being able to do exactly that, right? And having people to come along beside you to be able, it's the stories. And it's being able to help them to see that it's a we. And coming together and to really make that difference. That's really powerful, George.
That's our desire, even as a nonprofit. We exist so that we can connect people, churches, businesses with the opportunities we have to make a difference in this world together. Together. I love that.
Beautiful. So the work you do is both domestically and internationally focused. How do you ensure that the organization remains effective across such diverse geographic and cultural landscapes?
That's huge.
It's huge, and sometimes I even look at our mission and I'm like, man, I gotta be more specific.
We kind of wonder, like, okay, did I hear right?
Yeah,
like,
did I hear?
this-
Yeah. But I think it's okay to dream big. It's okay to say, okay,
It's great to
let's-
dream big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if we dream big, we would at least hit something. You know?
Right. Well, you know, the other day I was talking with somebody and we were talking about being crazy, and I said it takes a little bit of crazy.
Yeah, that's
to
right.
be able to do it, right?
Yes. So one of the things that we do is, and we've learned this from you guys, to always stay connected with the people that are behind you and,
Yes.
and want to come, you know, alongside. And the thing that we're doing is, on Monday, for example, my assistant gives me 3 names, and there are 3 names from 3 different buckets. One of the bucket is prospects, people that might like what you're doing, and they might maybe give a donation. The second one is people that maybe gave a donation in the past.
Right.
And then the third one is the people that month after month after month support what we're doing. Our goal is to bring the prospect to the one who maybe gives 1 time, 2 times, and then the second bucket, move them to the third. Those who gave 1 time, 2 times, bring them to being regular donors of the nonprofit and keep them engaged in what we're doing.
You've got a process.
I
That's awesome.
love this.
I mean, it's a team, you know.
It is a team. It is a team. This is so great.
Yeah. So when we are receiving these names, I'm usually the one who maybe sends a text message and simply say, hey, I thought about you. I paused. I prayed for you, prayed for your family. Just want you to know that you are on my mind.
Beautiful.
And always be ready to be a help to the partners that you have.
Okay, we are going to pause again for another break, and we will be right back with our special guest, George Pordea, founder of International Access to Missions.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Welcome back to Voices of Impact. We are here with George Pordea, the founder and executive director of International Access to Missions.
George, the first time I heard you explain the process of getting food into the hands of families in Ukraine, it was like an assembly line of all the different steps along the journey. Can you walk us through that whole process?
Yes. So it all starts with money, number one. Once we have the funds raised, in the past, we used to go into Romania, which borders Ukraine, and then we would purchase all the food in Romania and then cross it over the border into Ukraine. And even the Ukrainians, at the border, they were very kind. You would have the border patrol actually come, and when they saw a red cross, they would actually push cars out of the way so that your truck could go through, because you came with, you know,
you're bringing help.
Food relief, yes.
Yeah.
You're bringing help. So they would make sure that you cross the border as fast as possible and get to your destination. Recently, what we have found out as time went by, they said, hey, you don't have to buy all the grains. They were trying actually to export all the grains from Ukraine. If you remember, all the grains from Ukraine outside.
Yes.
So, you know, they would cross the Black Sea into Turkey. And then, you know, so they had grains.
Yeah.
They said, don't bring grains. We can purchase those here. And they said, but bring canned meat. So that's that's what we did. We bought the canned meat in Romania and the grains in Ukraine. And then they said, hey, we can find everything here. And come to find out, the prices are about 50% cheaper in Ukraine than they are in Romania.
Oh,
so I was like,
goodness.
oh, that's great. We could stretch that dollar even more, and buy more stuff. So we would go into Ukraine with just a little car and a credit card. And you go to the store, and it's kind of like a big Costco, and you'd go and you say, okay, I want 3 pallets of this, 3 pallets of this, 2 of this, 5 of this, 4 of these, and then you would basically put all those pallets on a truck. You'd go to the cashier, swipe the card, boom, you're done. And then our partner would take this food to the east side where the war is going on. And that's where they would take those pallets and split them into smaller individual packages.
Yes.
And through the network of people that he has on that side, because he is from that region. In fact, our partner hasn't been home for over 2 years. His house is under Russian occupation right now. So he hasn't been able to go home. At the beginning of the war, he actually would go in with food and bring people out. So,
oh my gosh!
So he would, he would pack his van with food.
So this partner basically provided the trucking to get the food to the east side.
Exactly. So we pay for the transportation of the food to the east side. I don't go myself. I do go into Ukraine, but I don't go on the east side where the war is going on. He's the one with his team who's going and distributes the food.
But you still had to mobilize everything.
Yeah, I think it was a blessing that we actually had a network of people in Ukraine before the war started. So that actually gave us the open door to say, okay, let's just jump on this and see what we can help.
So how many people do you think that do you have an idea that you have been able to provide food for since the war started?
That it's, I've never had those numbers. I just keep getting pictures and pictures and pictures. But for example, to give you, one church that we work with on the east side, they had 60 members in their church. Today, that church has 600 people.
Oh my goodness.
And every Sunday they come and they receive a package of food so that they could have, a little bit of food for the next week.
And I think that you had mentioned before that, we really don't hear a lot about the war going on.
Right.
And however, listening to you and knowing that it's not over, that it's still going, that there's still a huge need.
Yes. Another story. We actually took a load of food into Ukraine, and there was an old lady who said, I want to send a message to the people who purchased this food. And so we put her on camera. I wasn't there, but our partner did. And she basically said, we want you to know that we are so grateful for the help that you're sending our way, and please don't stop. Our families who have left Ukraine and went to Western Europe because of the war, even those people, our families have forgotten about us, the elderly. She was an old lady, and she said, but I want to thank you that you have not forgotten about us. And please continue to come, continue to help us. So stories like that are the ones that are saying, okay, George, you can't stop. You got to keep going.
You have to keep going.
So the need hasn't lessened any since you started this whole process.
Right. The unfortunate thing is when a war starts, the infrastructure gets destroyed. So then you got to think, okay, how can we transport the food in there so that we could be a blessing to those who are most needy, and primarily the elderly.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have lost their homes, I guess.
Yes, some of them have lost their homes, but some of them have lost their families because many of them, even if they didn't leave Ukraine because they couldn't, there were certain rules, for leaving Ukraine during the war, they actually moved on the west side of the country where there are not that many bombs. There's, a little bit of a normal life, and they're called internally displaced people, IDPs, because they had to take all their stuff and just start their life in another city in the country.
I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Yeah,
not at all. So George, if someone is hearing you and wanting to get involved, how can they do that?
Well, going into Ukraine is a little bit difficult. For example, we had a gentleman who said, I really want to donate a big sum of money, but I want to I want to go with you. I said, man, I'll take you, but
Yeah.
just so you know, there's a war going on in Ukraine,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. So he went to his wife. He's like, hey, I want to go to Ukraine. His wife said, no way, you know. So there was a little bit of work to be done there. And then eventually he was able to come with me. But so we're not taking a lot of people into Ukraine now.
Sure.
But our desire is, as the war ends, to actually put teams together and maybe go and build a home.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing?
You know,
Wow.
maybe put a team together and say, hey,
Yes.
let's just make a difference for this family.
Yes.
You know, so there are so many needs. It's not like people are going to say, oh, no, you can't come in to help. So that's one thing that we do. And then another thing is the work that we do in Romania, which is much safer. You know, we are in a, you know, beautiful city of Brașov, probably the most beautiful city in Romania, in the heart of Romania, in Transylvania, about 15 minutes from Dracula's castle.
Really?
Yes, and about 15 minutes from a ski resort area. So it's a beautiful place. It's, you know, spectacular. Food is amazing. People are warm. So yes, we are taking people and volunteers to come and help. We have a construction team that is going on every year. This year we actually went in May because we wanted to finish those 12 rooms on the second floor so that we could use them during the summer. So they're being used right now as we speak.
I love it.
That's awesome.
So people can, you know, maybe send an email, send a text message, and then connect with us and see what they have on their heart to do and
Right,
direct them.
And you had mentioned about your website. Will you give your website address again, please?
IA2M.org.
Okay, wonderful. And then your email address.
Yes, so George.Pordea, Pordea, at IA2M.org.
All right, thank you so much, George. And we're so excited to have George with us. This is Voices of Impact. We will be back in just a short break, and we look forward to seeing you then.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Are you a nonprofit leader awake at night worrying about your organization's future? You're not alone. Did you know a staggering 30% of nonprofits don't survive past 10 years? Often it's a simple reality. No money, no mission.
There is hope. At KBL Impact Partners, we understand the value of every dollar and every donor. Did you know 58% of donors are willing to give more if they know the impact of their donation?
That's why we've created Frame Up for Funding, our exclusive 12-week program designed to empower nonprofit leaders just like you. Learn how you can effectively communicate with donors and funders, demonstrating the lasting impact of their investments.
Ready for a game-changing 2024? Visit kblimpactpartners.com today and schedule your complimentary consultation. Together, let's make your mission possible.
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
You're watching the TV Network.
Welcome back to Voices of Impact. We are here today with George Pordea, the founder and executive director of International Access to Missions.
George, I understand that your next trip is scheduled for August 30th through September the 7th. And what types of activities are you hoping to accomplish on your next trip?
So, as I mentioned, we started a big project in Romania. And this project had to do with an older building that was kind of like a wagon-style building and have bunk beds. And at the end, there were bathrooms for the girls, bathrooms for the boys. So what we did, we went and took the roof off and demolished everything on the inside and then put a second floor. And now we're making that building into 24 bedrooms with private bathrooms, kind of like a hotel style, so that we could use this for different events, for different groups of people that want to come out of the city into a beautiful wooded area at the foot of the Carpathian Mountains, so that they could maybe recharge a little bit and maybe do some team building. And we have summer camps. Like summers are usually the busiest for us. So we had teams that would go with us, and this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to finish this big monster of a building.
Camp Hope, right?
Camp Hope. Yes, so that we could allow other people to use it and benefit from it. At the very beginning, when we looked at this project, we said, why don't we just wait until we raise all the money? And then we realized, man, it's not going to happen. It's got to be a little bit at a time. So one of the board members, when we were in board meetings, I really like your thinking that you can't eat a whole elephant at once. You got to take one bite at a time.
Yes.
So what we did is we decided that we're going to have 24 rooms and looking for 24 people or groups of people or businesses
Sponsor
or individuals. And adopt a room.
Yes.
And then in each room we have a plaque actually in the honor of the person that donated the funds or the organization.
Great idea.
And it's in English and in Romanian so that people could.
So they have that tie.
Yeah.
Right.
And then maybe write a message of inspiration there as well for the people that read that plaque that live in that room for a week or a few days. So we have already raised most of the money. We are down to 9 rooms. So,
wow.
Oh my goodness. So how much have you raised so far?
So we needed to raise $88,000. I don't even minus the 36. So.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's great!
Yeah,
Congratulations.
$52,000 we raised for this project.
Amazing.
Just to finish the rooms. Yes, we had money that we poured into this building before, but this allows us to, paint the room, to put flooring, to finish the bathroom with tiles and showers and toilets.
And I love the idea of that if it's a business, if it's a church, whatever it is, a group of people that can sponsor a room.
Yeah.
And that I think is absolutely beautiful, and what a way to make an impact. And that is great. You're going to get the rest of it in no time.
I'm looking forward to it. I know the people are already there, and it's just a matter of telling the story.
Right.
And for people to say, yeah, I want to adopt a room. I want to make a difference.
About the history of this building, was it always used as kind of a youth camp or summer camp?
Yeah, so actually when we were in Romania, we would do summer camps, but we would do it in tents. And then there was an American partner that actually came to Romania and started this camp, but he ran into some problems and had to leave the country. And at that point, the camp stayed unused because it was under his nonprofit. So for the longest time, the camp was kind of devastated and deteriorated, and people went in and took the sinks and on. So we basically had to start from.
So it was in pretty
zero.
rough shape.
Right.
Yeah, when we got it back. So when we got the camp done, we went in and we said, okay, we got to do it one piece at a time.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Like you said, the elephant, you take a bite at a time, right?
One bite at a time. That's
how
right.
you do it. So I have a question for you, George, and thinking about our audience of other nonprofit leaders that are out there, what is one of the biggest challenges you have?
I bet every nonprofit is going to say that the biggest challenge is to raise funds.
Right.
And you get to a point where you become fatigued, and you're telling the stories to the same partners that you have,
Right.
the same volunteers, the same ones. So then you're asking the question, well, if you're tired, think how they're thinking, because here comes George again, or he's going to ask us to volunteer again, or he's going to ask us to give again, or he's going to ask us to go again. So I don't want that feeling, and I think I even shared with you. Sometimes it feels like I'm pouring on the same people that were there in the past for us. But they were there because they wanted to be there.
That's exactly right.
And I think that's one of the things that we as leaders, we need to get it through our head. Hey, those who will want to help will help.
That's
and
right.
those who won't, they won't. So all you have to do is continue to pour out your heart, share the heart that you have for a certain project, continue to pour out the passion that you have to make a difference.
Right, right. And so have you found by doing that and really shifting, to me that's really shifting your mindset of how you look at things.
Yeah.
And so what has happened?
So I think that, by sharing the stories like this and leaving the rest up to God, you're at a point where you realize, okay, God has to do the rest. I can do what I can do.
Right.
Yeah,
Man has limitations.
We have limitations, exactly.
Right.
So, for example, I'll give you a story. I was in a meeting with the nonprofits, and at the end, the host prayed for all the nonprofits and said, I really desire, Lord, for the donations that are 10,000 today to be 20,000.
Yeah.
And an hour later, I went to a meeting, and the lady that was there, as I was sharing, she said, I came with a number in mind, but I feel like God wants me to double it. And we continued to share the stories, and then she said, I was going to give you $10,000, but I'm going to give you $20,000.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, you won't believe this, but an hour ago, this was the prayer. And she pulled out her checkbook, and as she was writing IAM, put the date sign, in the number box, she wrote 30,000.
Oh my goodness, that just gave me chills up and down. I love this.
I said, well, wait a second, you said 20. It's like, yeah, but we serve a God of surprises.
Amen.
And I think that's
Amen to that.
That's what we need to remember.
And to keep that in the front of our minds, right?
Keep that in the front of our minds.
That is such a great story.
Yes.
Just leave the rest to God. He'll shock you.
That's
He'll
right.
surprise you.
That's right. Oh, thank you for that inspirational message. And because when you're doing the work and you're out there in the trenches every day, and it's just, sometimes it does get really hard. And hearing that story is so inspiring, and to help us to help those to keep going and not giving up.
Yes, yes.
Thank you
so
for
much.
sharing that. That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
So, last question, George. Going forward, do you see your time still kind of equally divided between what you're doing in Romania with Camp Hope versus the food program in Ukraine?
Yes,
both.
So we are doing those for sure. Both of them are still going on. The third one is Boots for Kids, that is going to be in November.
Okay.
So our desire is to actually go and buy the boots in Romania and then go into the small villages and actually give a pair of boots.
Oh, that's wonderful. I want to go sometime.
Yeah.
I know, I've been talking with you about that.
We're going to do it.
We are going to do it.
That's
We are
right.
going to do it.
Well, thank you all for joining us today on Voices of Impact. And our guest has been George Pordea, who is the founder and executive director of International Access to Missions. And George, it's been our pleasure. One last time,
Your website?
Yes. So it's ia2m.org. And then my email address is george.pordea@ia2m.org.
Great. Thank you all for joining us, and we will be back with another episode of Voices to Impact real soon. Have a good day.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. Made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Thank you for joining us on today's enlightening episode of Voices of Impact. Remember, each one of you has the power to make a difference in this world.
With the KBL Impact Partners team of over 75 years of experience in the nonprofit and corporate sectors, we are with you on this journey. We stand ready as more than advisors. We are partners and mentors committed to your vision for a better tomorrow. It's about creating solutions that resonate with your unique mission, with a dedication to personalized attention that brings out the very best in your organization.
And if you're ready to take your organization to the next level, visit kblimpactpartners.com and schedule your complimentary consultation. Ignite your impact, amplify your vision, and elevate your mission to lead the social movement.
This is Voices of Impact with KBL Impact Partners, where your mission fuels our dedication to social impact. Until next time, let's continue to be the inspiring voice of change in our communities and beyond.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Meet the Scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.